wasting money, producing stuff that doesn't exist yet. I mean, it's like, making solar panels on the dark side of the moon. I mean, there's no point in it. It's just a waste in resources.
You've ignored the possibility that a god could have created this bacteria that could only eat things that have only existed for 70 years.
Well, you're lucky.
Oh, you mean so God sparks the mutation into them then?
Right.
Well,
no, they've just been very hungry for the past, I guess, 6,000-7,000 years.
But then what about their competitors that are competing for the same resources? Those guys aren't wasting the energy on this, and those would be easily able to outcompete them over the long term. But anyways, what they did was it was a gene duplication event followed by a frameshift mutation. We have the original gene. We can see where and when the gene duplication event occurred, and we can see where and when the frameshift mutation occurred, and we can see the following gene product, which is nylonase, and that's these bacteria now being able to now being able to consume nylon for energy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it really is. It's like a no case in point. I mean, it's not up for discussion, really. I mean, this is something that's been beaten dead so many times. I mean, we're beating a horse fossil right now. It's not even a mummy.
Well, exactly. But like we said earlier, their target audience doesn't know shit about genetics and the addition of information or anything along those lines. So, to your average person listening to a creationist, this is a great argument.
So take a look at once again why I told you why I got into the why I make videos on YouTube to begin with. It's for situations exactly like this, and I don't mean to be self-promoting, but I made a video how evolution adds new information. If you want to know how to defeat that argument, take a look. It's complete with visual aids. It will help you understand the concept, and once you understand it, you can go on or take a look at my How Evolution Works. I think it's part 3 or part 4 mutations, and that should help you out also. But I mean, I made my videos for situations like this, and I realize that it's, I don't mean to be self-promoting, but at the same time, it is my answer in depth with pictures, well explained for 10 minutes that really just about anybody could understand it. So.
And problem is, most of the ones I argue with won't even go to a channel and take a look at it because, one, a lot of them don't even want to see that they could be wrong. They like the nice, handy answer. Usually what I get is not mutations remove information. Usually the argument I end up getting presented with is mutations only cause death and disfigurement.
Well, that's question number 2. That's point number 2.
Which is like, take a look at the CCR5 mutation in human beings, which grants us immunity to AIDS and HIV.
Or
I guess that's bad.
Huh? Lactose intolerance. It was a mutation that created something good. And it benefited so well that I think it's, like 70% of the population now can synthesize, or whatever you want to call it, process lactose at an older age than we could, 3,000-4,000 years ago?
Yeah, lactase is the gene that is responsible for converting the... It's actually kind of, if I may go off onto a dorky ramble, why does milk and lactose intolerance people... Can I go off on a dorky rant for a minute?
Please.
Well, what happens is, in people who can't synthesize lactase is the enzyme responsible for converting lactose into simple sugars, which we can digest. For people who don't have that, what happens is that the lactose, which is the sugar in milk, stays in your guts, and it basically acts like a salt. It sucks up water, which is why you get diarrhea. Because instead of having it sucks up water from everything around there, the water goes into your intestines and into your bowel, basically cling to this lactose, which hasn't been broken down, and that's why you get diarrhea. So, fun story. Yeah. So anyways, there are numerous documentations of positive mutations, and it's the sort of thing where 3 minutes on Google would make that argument laughable. So, and CCR5 mutation is a good one because it grants human beings immunity to AIDS.
Wow, so they actually have that nailed down to what's actually happening with that? I have not read that.
Oh yeah.
Last thing I read about that, of course I don't keep that up on too much stuff. Most of the stuff goes over my head. But there are some isolated individuals that that were actually immune to AIDS, and I didn't realize it actually narrowed it down that far. That's impressive.
And the reason, Yersinia pestis, the organism which causes bubonic plague, it hits the same CCR5 pointer receptor on our cells in order to gain entry. and they found that throughout the world, the people with the CCR5 mutation that grants them immunity to AIDS is about 3%. Yet in Northern Europeans, where the plague was prevalent, it's about 12%. So
wow,
yeah,
wow, impressive.
I mean, what's the third one? Mutations are too rare to have any real impact on a species. I mean, mutations are pretty common. I mean, if you understand the fundamentals of evolution, which is, you've got three things. You've got heritability, which means that there's a trait that can be passed down from one organism to another, right? So the differences are pass-onable. And then you've got the second thing is that you've got changes which are occurring. In other words, there's mutation. Not all organisms can reproduce equally, which is where natural selection comes into play. So you've got a wide variety, a wide I guess kind of genetic variability, and then some of those organisms can reproduce can reproduce better than others, which is just, it sets it up. If you look at it in the long term, gene frequency will change over time, which is what evolution is. I mean, this has been, mutations are too rare to have any real impact. Well, I mean, what the hell? What about predator recognition and things like that, whereby a bird that eats moths will they'll get this prey image in their mind, their image of what their prey is supposed to look like, and you can see it cycles. The birds will recognize brown moths as their prey, and it'll start off with 85% of the moths being brown, and then after 10 years it'll be down to 15, and then there will be black moths. Well, then the black moths are now up to 85%, and the birds switch their predator search image, is actually the term, predator search image, and then they'll go after the black moths, and then it'll rebound, and then all of a sudden there'll be a white moth. And this is well documented. It's you just have to kind of, I guess, know the information in order to rebut it. But I mean, mutations are too rare to have any real impact on a species. I mean, that's hell. Take a look at human beings in the I mean, what do they mean by impact, I guess, in terms of breeding? Look at cystic fibrosis. Something interesting about cystic fibrosis, it's a defective chloride channel in the lungs, which basically causes water to be pumped out and you to get real thick, nasty mucus that you can't clear. Mm-hmm. Well, individuals which have, have both, from mom and dad are cystic fibrosis positive are really bad off. I mean, they will die. It happens. However, organisms or human beings which are what's called a heterozygote, and that they've got one for cystic fibrosis or one gene that codes for it and the other one that doesn't, they produce half of the water in their mucus that they should. So it's not quite as viscous, but it's still more viscous than it should be. And that's actually advantageous in that it helps protect them from food poisoning and things like that. When you take a look at, there's something called, I'm sorry, I know I'm kind of shotgunning information here, but if you look at Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium predicts the frequency of the, all the organisms with the capital R, which would be like the positive dominant trait, both copies, big R, little r, which would be the heterozygote, that is, in this case, for cystic fibrosis, the mom has it, dad doesn't, they get one in between, or little r, normal people, neither one of us has, neither one mom nor dad, we've got normal genes. And you can predict the frequency, and what we find with cystic fibrosis and malaria, by the way, because or with sickle cell, by the way, because sickle cell helps protect against malaria, you find that the people with the mix of it is much higher than expected. And the reason being because there is some benefit to being in between. So you've got something artificially keeping cystic fibrosis and sickle cell anemia in the population, and that's how it is. So to say that there is no real impact, I mean, here's an example of mutations, artificially altering the gene frequency within the human population.
Right. Number 4 is an argument that we've all heard a million times. Most organs and biological features are far too complex to be the result of random mutations.
Irreducible complexity. Yeah. I mean, this is something, again, that's been debunked. All right, let's use their example. The best of the best of the best that they can come up with.
The eye.
Flagella, right?
The flagella?
What they don't take into account is how evolution works. Is evolution takes something that exists, modifies it for a new function. Like, take a look at a watch. A watch is useless unless all the parts come together. Therefore, it couldn't have evolved. Well, really? I mean, if you look at a clock has a pendulum. Clock has gears. Clock has dials. I mean, all of these could be used for other things. And in the flagellum, what we should look at, I guess, if you want to see if we look at the flagellum, if intelligent design and irreducible complexity are correct, what we should expect to see is when we break the flagellum down to its components, none of them should have an ulterior function, right? They should all be, de novo, brand new, never seen before, because what we expect of evolution is correct. We would expect them to be rigged together. We should expect them to be adapted from previous different functions.
So they all exist solely for the function of maneuvering.
Of what they do.
Yeah.
They have no second function, because after all, if they have a second function, then evolution explains how they came together, right?
Exactly.
Because, I mean, that's what evolution says. So therefore, if intelligent design is correct, their poster child, the flagellum, none of the parts should have any ulterior function or alternative function, rather. And when we look at it, we find that, when you remove 40 of the proteins, you're left with the type 3 secretory system, which is basically a really nasty molecular syringe that lots of bacteria use to inject their toxins into our cells. So, yes, the type 3 secretory system is part of the flagellum. But that really speaks to a loving God, doesn't it? I mean, the flagellum, he loved us so much. I mean, flagellum is what's called a virulence factor, in that it makes bacteria motile, and that they can move around and make us much sicker than bacteria who don't have them.
Hey, that's all the fault of the fall. That's all Adam and Eve's fault.
It's like to suffer.
Vibrio cholera. I mean, causing cholera. They've got a flagellum, and that's what makes them so nasty, because they can really dig in there. If they didn't have them, it wasn't true. But it's okay. No, God gave them that because they're special. I mean, you can't defend it. Shit. The girlfriend is really getting after me. Do you mind if I give her a call for 2 minutes?
Oh, sure.
Is that all right? I will literally call right back. I just have to call her before bed. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
All right, I'll be right back.
We're married.
Oh, both of you? Congratulations.
We're married. We don't ever
understand.
How long have you guys been together?
Well, I don't know. We've been off and on for...
Just a tip? No, all right.
Yeah,
I'll give you a buzz back.
Well,
all right. Sorry, give me 5-10 minutes. 5 minutes if she's in a good mood, 10 minutes if she gets angry at me.
There you go.
Okay.
And we're back.
She obviously wasn't that mad.
No, she was going to bed. I just didn't want to. I'd been putting her off for a little bit because we were doing this, and I was there's a free dental clinic thingy, and I was Truthful Christian is calling me, but there's a free dental clinic. So I got home from school at 5:30. Had to be at this free clinic at 6, and didn't get home till 9:15, so I hadn't had a chance to talk to her. So.
You actually gave Truthful Christian your phone number?
Oh, no, not my phone number. He's calling on Skype.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, God, he always fucking calls me at the worst. No, the worst part about it is, like, if I'm playing a video game or doing something, or I just want to relax for a minute, like, he'll call, I won't answer. He'll call. Like, he just fucking sits there, calling repeatedly, like he doesn't. Like, I'll get back and I'll be like, you have 547 messages from Truthful Christian and Thick Shades. It's like they just keep doing it. It's really fucking annoying. I'm really surprised that he hasn't called back yet, actually.
Wow.
And he is one guy who is just, he's, and that's one reason why we're kind of backing off from him, because it's really clear that there's something not right with this guy.
That happens a lot. I mean, there's a lot of guys who just troll various websites like Frangulon and other places where they clearly, there's something really wrong with these people, and they're just fanatical about it.
Yeah, he's man. I mean, he has no self-awareness, and I've told him that. But what are you gonna do?
I've watched some of his videos.
Can't fix stupid.
Yeah, that's the thing about Truthful Christian, is he really is stupid. I've seen his videos; they're laughable.
I haven't even seen this guy. Of course, I usually don't listen to him because they drive me nuts.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I can't get through him and Nephilim Free. All of them can't get past more than a minute of them because they just repeat themselves and they're so fucking boring. I can't listen to them.